All right, y'all, we are back with another video. And like I said before, Candace Owens says she is not slowing down on Kamala Harris. She's going to keep applying the pressure, and we is loving it. And the thing is that the bad part about it is that we can't find Kamala Harris' dad's birth certificate. What is he hiding? Now it even get to this point where Candace Owens said that Kamala's family just reached out to her. So I imagine, what did they say? Which one of her family members reached out to Kamala Harris? Did they give her some news that she's been lying to the public and stuff like that? We're about to get ready and find out. So like I said, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. That way you can stay up to date with everything that's going on. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive straight into this, and let's find out what happened.
All right, everybody, stop the presses, because somebody from the Harris family circle has contacted me. Apparently, the family is being inundated with calls from the press, particularly the Washington Post. And so I know that the VP debates happened last night, but scrap that because this is all I can talk about. I'm very sorry. Plus, I got an email from a man named Moses, and he is swearing that Kamala's paternal line is Jewish. And he's not just speculating. He actually put together an entire compelling document that I'm going to show you. This is all getting extremely crazy, but we are getting very close to the truth. So let's get started. Welcome back to Candace. I just truly do not know how deep this rabbit hole is going to get. The emails I am receiving from everybody are completely crazy. Crazy as in just so informative and so many surprises and twists and turns. By the way, many of you guys have been asking us to put together a visual family tree, so we're going to do that for you guys today. Plus, we're going to share with you all on our locals page a working family timeline and a working family tree so that you can see it and follow along more closely. So definitely head to locals.com and follow us there. Remember, these are all just working timelines. They're very much subject to change. If more information becomes available, we may be wrong about some things. And again, I am doing this just as a sheer investigation. If something is wrong, I reserve the right to correct it. I honestly wish that we would just have Donald Jasper Harris, sit down and answer some questions, or Kamala Harris to straighten it out for us. How could you just be purporting to be black and running around with Megan Thee Stallion, shaking her booty so you can raise money, bringing out Lil Jon, walking out to Beyonce, knowing that you are telling some very big lies? So here's the thing. What everyone agrees upon is that Donald J. Harris is the big question mark in this family. Something is not making sense, and that something is his written piece regarding his Jamaican heritage, his Jamaican ancestry. And I'm just going to quickly remind you of what instantly flagged me as odd about that piece. Well, first and foremost, as we have said many times, he mentions both his mother and his father only once in one sentence in that piece. That is it. Just one sentence dedicated to his mother and his father. Extremely strange if you are doing a piece about your heritage. He also rather mysteriously claims that he doesn't know the ancestry at all of his grandmother, Miss Iris. Miss Iris, he writes, Nay Finnegan. She wouldn't have been Nay Finnegan. She would have been Nay Allen. So that's strange to me as well. Who he writes the entire article about. The entire article is about his grandmother, Miss Iris. So the fact that he is simultaneously claiming not to know her ancestry, we just got to run that through the bank of common sense, right? I was super close with both of my grandparents. It would be utterly bizarre for me to claim that I just didn't know their ancestry. Like, that is just something that comes up if you are very close to your grandparents, as he purports to be. He says Miss Iris raised him, and she was, Christiana Brown, Miss Chrissy raised him, and they were fortified and they were strong, and he learned all of these lessons from them. And yes, on Miss Iris, he just very quickly mentions that her ancestry is unknown to him. He also, in the piece, very obviously declines to mention all of his many siblings and half siblings. Only mentions one sibling. Her name is Enid Harris, and we know that he has at least 5. And regarding Enid Harris, we have not yet been able to find anything about her. Now, it is plausible that she got married and now has a different last name, and that's why we can only chase so many rabbits down the hole, but we have not been able to just verify who Enid Harris actually is from his piece. So we've got a sibling who he mentions that we can't find at all, and then about 5 siblings that we can find who he doesn't have anything to say about. So that's interesting. So here is what happened earlier today and why we are so late today on the podcast. We received an email from someone that was purporting to be a very close family friend of somebody in Kamala's family. Now, of course, we instantly fleshed this out, researched the person on Facebook, and it looked pretty legit right off the bat that this person could plausibly be a close family friend to the Harris family. I'm going to be scant on the details here because we've not yet been able to get on the phone.
I like the way Candace does that. Just because somebody say that's their family member, she always try to do some type of little background check to say, okay, now I'm more kind of, up to speed that this could be her family member. She don't just run with something that people give her. And that's what I like about Candace. Let's go.
That will happen later tonight with the actual Harris relative. But the conversation that we had with a friend of was incredibly interesting. He basically said that this particular Harris family member would like to talk, that they have been watching the series, paying attention to it, and they have some things that they would like to clarify and some things that they would like to say.
Let's go.
And I instantly said, of course, that's exactly what we have been waiting for. We're not doing this. Well, it's getting fun, obviously, but we're doing this because we are just realizing some major holes, and this woman is trying to be the president of the United States. It's relevant. Everybody should be talking about this. We cannot have somebody become the president of the United States who is telling us some major lies about their background. So this family friend similarly grew up in Jamaica and expressed the following to me. First and foremost, that the family is fielding calls, as I mentioned at the top of the show, from various media outlets, namely the Washington Post, calling around, trying to gather information. I guess they're trying to fact check the story, maybe themselves realizing some holes, and they have not, by the way, I should mention, reached out to me at all, which is quite interesting. They're probably just trying to debunk it quietly because there's a lot of people that are following the story and realizing that something is quite wrong. We don't know what that something is, but we all agree that something is wrong. This individual family friend also confirmed to me that Donald Harris lived for a time in the household of our white Iris and his father, Oscar Harris, which would make sense because white Iris and father, Oscar Harris, were married until his dying day. By the way, Chris, we can pull up that chart right now if people just want to follow that along. We can pull up the family chart. Now, I want to be clear. This family chart is what we're putting together of people that were married. Obviously, you can see Kamala Harris. We have the people that she says are her parents. I have question marks about that. We'll get to the bottom of it. And then we have Donald Harris. Now, I want to be clear. Donald Harris alleges that his mother is Beryl. So that is, we're just putting there up visually because we are speaking about Iris. In fact, we'll make a little edit and connect Donald Harris to Oscar. Beryl seems to be this question mark. But yes, we have now a confirmation from somebody who is saying that Donald Harris lived in the household for a time period with his father and who would be Iris that he grew up with at some point, which would, in my mind, be his entire childhood because of when they got married. And so that fact, again, makes it exceedingly strange that he completely omitted that Iris from his Jamaican heritage article. Why are you skipping all of these relatives? It just doesn't make sense. I asked this family friend if he ever met or heard of Beryl outside of the pieces of Kamala speaking about her paternal grandmother, Beryl, while he was in Jamaica. And he said, no, he never heard of her. So that's interesting. It could mean something. It could mean nothing. I'm just telling you what this family friend said.
Wow.
He also says that our Oscar Harris, had 3 children before he married Vioris. 3 children, he's alleging, before he married Vioris. And this is why I really want to have this conversation with the family member because I want to put these names together. He also noted that, and this is very true in the Caribbean, particularly in Jamaica, that people sleep around a lot on the island. I know that. It is true. And that is of some interest that Vioris would marry somebody who had 3 children before they got married. That to me is interesting. I, again, am just working to confirm who exactly those individuals are, but it does make it even stranger that Donald Harris has mentioned no other siblings in his piece aside from Enid Harris.
That's what I don't get. Why is he not mentioning certain relatives? And that's what I don't get, that he barely even mentioned his mom. So that's what I'm saying. That's why it's just so confusing. That it's like they only posting people that they want to post, but they just leaving like some of the most important people out. The same way with Kamala Harris is doing, putting a woman up in her book that's not even her grandmother, but she's saying it is her grandmother. The same way she's on TV now saying she's black when she was just saying she's Indian. That's the reason why I say you can't believe anything Kamala Harris says. She lies so much. She's on video and she still lies. So if she's on video and we have the footage of her lying about everything, what you think she's going to do in this book? Tell complete lies.
Harris, his sister. Is it a half sister? Is it a full sister? We don't know. We are looking for more details there. My understanding at this moment, after the conversation that I had, is that far from the representation of the media who looked for family members to say everyone's so proud of Kamala, it seems to me that there are some family members that are not, who perceive her to be problematic, to perceive parts of her story to be problematic. And if we are able to secure this interview with this individual, I don't know if he's going to speak publicly. I don't know if he just wants to speak privately to clarify some things. Then it is going to be a major expose, because my sense is that there is a lot of fraud that is being imparted at this moment.
I believe
and
that
the
too.
media is complicit in covering it up. By the way, I should mention here that somebody who emailed me, that we've received so many emails, had this theory that is quite interesting. Obviously, not saying it's true, but their theory is that it's plausible that Donald and Vioris could be the parents of Kamala. That works according to the timeline. It certainly works according to the timeline. Again, we don't know if that's true, and our job here is to simply ask questions and to try to find the answers and to clarify things that were wrong. But I did see a few of your emails coming in that were all of you going, this is what it looks like, this is what it could be, whatever. And then that would potentially, as the email said, that would potentially explain why he doesn't want to mention this person at all. Who knows? That, by the way, that's in full tinfoil hat land. There is no evidence of that. But I just wanted to give that an honorable mention. All right, guys, I'm going to now tell you about this guy, Moses, who sent me an email with some documentation that is fascinating. But first, I'm going to tell you about preborn, because Kamala Harris is German Jewish. And the first thing that came to my mind, again, like as we've been doing this investigation, why hide any of this stuff? Like, who cares?
That's what I'm
if
saying.
Your lineage dates back to Jewish people, dates back to Irish people. Like, what is the shame here? And that is putting together a picture that we are missing.
That right there is what kind of getting everybody, like, why lie about it? That's what really bothers everybody. It's a lot of black people, especially on X, if you want to call X Twitter, that they saying the same thing. Quit lying. You literally said you're Indian. You literally said this. And the way that you treated that black mom back in the days, like in California, like, come on. We ain't stupid at all. Now, since she's been running for president and they threw Joe Biden out, all of a sudden she's black. And the press, and like I said, the woke media, they going to allow her to do this. They want to win so bad that they want Kamala to lie to the American people and try to persuade that she's black, just so they think that black people going to vote for her just because she's saying she's black. I don't vote on these identity politics crap. I vote on your policies. What are your policies? Your policies going to help us. That's what I want to vote on. I'm not voting on based on your skin color. I don't care if you're my brother. If I don't like your policies, I'm not voting for you. That's just the way it goes. It's all about, can your policies help me? Can it help my family? Can it help everybody? It's like, come on.
Something, because nobody cares. Like, we live in such a multicultural society that we almost anticipate, when you go back far enough in anybody's ancestry, that there's just going to be a lot of different races and mixes. And so it's just odd that they're leaving out some things. So I want to take you through what this person emailed. And the first thing that they said was that they had recognized that on the genealogy websites, there was an intentional red herring, a made-up individual to throw people off the scent of trying to figure out who Joseph Alexander's father was. So let's pull up that chart again so you guys can follow along and know exactly what it is that we're talking about, that family chart. So again, we know that that Donald Harris, when he wrote his piece, kind of says that beyond the Miss Chrissy generation, that's his Miss Iris. That's his Miss Irish generation, that he doesn't know anything about his family ancestry. So it sort of stops at Joseph Alexander Harris, which is kind of weird. Well, this guy is saying, no, I have figured this out, actually. We do know who the father was of Joseph Alexander Harris. He had the same name, the first name and last name, but his middle name was different. It was Bravo Harris. He says that Joseph Bravo Harris is the relative that they are purporting that they don't know, but they do in fact know that this is the great-grandfather of Donald Harris. Oh. And the reason that they're blocking this, he says, is because he belonged to a different church than his relatives, that he was Jewish, and that there is actually a public record of this on his gravesite, which is there's like a website that directs you to Jewish tombs in Jamaica. We have fact-checked this, and this is true. And he says that actually more can be learned about him in a book that was published in 1941 from a man named Jacob A. P.M. Andrade. So the foreword, you can see this book is very old. Again, it was published in 1941 in Kingston, Jamaica. And the foreword of the book tells you that really this was just a labor of love. That Mr. Andrade, the person who put this together, has painstakingly collected information and carried out research over a period of 17 years. Oh, he has interviewed scores of people, written hundreds of letters, and has searched 163 will books and 1,400 deed books at the Island Record Office in Spanish Town. So we know that that is where their family is from, and so that is immediately of interest. We know that this person is going through all of the records. Now, if you go in this book to Appendix L, listed under the, quote, cemetery of former English and German congregation, you see, in loving memory of Joseph Bravo Harris.
It does say that.
Okay. Born November 2nd, 1855, died on the 20th of September, 1894. Then there is another section which lists Joseph Harris under St. Anne. The person who emailed me is saying that this is an uncle. Under St. Anne, which again, we know that all of the relatives are from the St. Anne parish. And it says also on his Penn property, you see that in the corner, St. Anne, on his Penn property, Inverness. Now, where have we seen the word before? That's a tell, if that is indeed his property. It's an important clue because Donald mentions Inverness as the place where Miss Iris, the grandmother he was so close to but didn't know any details about, he says that she was from there, but like her ancestry is unknown to him. So it does place, the family at that time here, which is a major clue. Joseph Bravo, by the way, had a brother, and his name was Michael Ralph Bravo, and he is registered as a Freemason in Jamaica. This guy shows me this, and here it is. You can actually see the logs of the Freemasons signing their names there. He is registered in 1908, and that particular lodge that he is registered in, it makes him an English Freemason, and that is considered the oldest Masonic lodge in the world. It was established as an underground movement to support the Whigs. Now, a lot of you guys asked me questions in the comment section. You're like, Candace, speak more about Freemasonry. And that is just, that would be an entire series. It's relevant. You should learn about Freemasonry. It is definitely, like I said on past episodes, it was an underground movement of people that were trying to overthrow empires, trying to overthrow kings, and they were meeting in secret society, like meeting in these Freemasonry lodges to discuss how to do that. So I wanted to just give you a brief history because I was looking into that. Okay, so if he's alleging that this is the family, we're seeing the Freemasonry thing come up again, and what is it that were the aims of that particular Masonic lodge. And it is true that Freemasonry has a lot to do with the establishment of America. Like, England was not cool just losing America after the Revolutionary War. We were then infiltrated by a bunch of Freemason lodges, and it became a way to sort of fight for America within America, but do it in a way that was secret. Anyways, that particular lodge that he is registered in, this is, again, Michael Ralph Bravo, who would be the brother of Joseph Bravo.
See, it would be a lot easier for Kamala Harris to just come out and tell everybody the truth. Because I'm telling you now, this right here, that right there, will be the only way Candace Owens will stop. Because, like I said, if Kamala Harris is refusing to speak and refusing to acknowledge this, because let's be real here. She's seen these videos. Kamala Harris seen these videos. Almost every video Candace Owens is doing is getting 1 million views. And I can guarantee you, somebody from Kamala's campaign see these videos. But the problem is with Kamala is that she going to keep ignoring it because she don't want to talk about it. The same way she's running from interviews. She's running from reporters. And like I said, she's going to run from this too. She ain't going to want to talk about it. So the thing is, Candace is just going to keep digging. People going to keep reaching out to her, giving her information, because Kamala Harris is not going to do anything about it. She's not going to say anything. She's not going to try to clear this up. Kamala Harris' goal is to lie her way back in office. And that's what she's going to try to do. She's just going to try to keep on lying to the American people, because once she's in office, she's got 4 years, whether you like it or not. And she's going to try to use her being black or trying to say she's black to try to get there. So right now she's getting exposed, and Candace Owens is not going to stop, and I'm here for the ride.
The oldest Masonic lodge in the world. As I said, it was an underground movement to support the Whigs. There's a historian who notes that the Whig administration of England organized this Grand Lodge as a loyalist counter to the Jacobite Rising of 1715.
Yeah.
We're not going to get too deep into history here, but it dates back to the War of Three Kingdoms between England, Scotland, and Ireland. So again, Freemason lodges kind of rising because they wanted a certain political philosophy to win. This particular lodge was down with Whiggism, which essentially sought to prevent a Catholic ascension to the English throne, especially that of any of King James II's descendants. So they were particularly interested in making sure that the Catholic Church gained no more power. So that's just a little back history in case you're interested in what that lodge's aims were when it was established. So we are seeing that family member. And then of interest is that Michael then settled in Canada. We find him, that Freemason, on a ship manifest. So what's interesting here is we're starting to see the coordinates. We're starting to see a map here of the same places, starting all the way here back in the 1800s in Kamala's alleged family to now, presently, right? We were starting to look at logs, and we know that they spent the Harris family spent time in Canada. We know that they spent time in New Orleans. We know that they spent a lot of time in Jamaica. And so this person did indeed, Michael, settle in Canada, which would put the Harris family in Canada. We also know, by the way, we haven't yet gotten to her mother, but that she also worked in Canada, was in Canada a lot. So there may be reasons for that, but it is of interest that Canada keeps popping up in our research. Okay, so like I said, that kind of is the person that he found, that he believes that they actually do know this ancestry, but for some reason are trying to obfuscate it. What reason that would be, again, is it's just not clear to me. Then he gets into, by the way, we should show that page where he speaks about the conversions that were happening in the book. Yeah. So as this guy is kind of going through all of this and speaking about how, this book, A Record of the Jews in Jamaica, is the title of it. As he's speaking through all of this, he speaks about why it was that so many Hebrew residents in the St. Anne parish began converting or marrying. And what is of interest regarding Joseph Bravo Harris is the fact that, look at this, the Hebrews resident from the same book in St. Anne parish assembled for divine worship on Yom Kippur at the home of Joseph Harris at Brownstown. I was credibly informed that the room Harris appropriated for the service, which was during his lifetime, was never used for any other purpose. Harris was an English Jew. He came here from New Orleans, Louisiana. Again, another coordinate that just keeps popping up. And then the author writes, I have not been able to ascertain the provision for worship that was made in any of the other parishes. St. Elizabeth must, however, have had organized worship during the 18th century. It is very pleasing to record that at no time since the Reform movement assumed practical form during the 19th century has religious persecution in the island reached so acute a stage as to at all render it possible for the setting up a Reformed congregation, as was the case in some of the neighboring islands, thus to save many on this account from leaving their ancestral religion. So he's just kind of going through all of this, speaking about how some people left the faith, and he says that he's inclined to believe that they did that because they just didn't like the rabbinical Judaism with its unyielding laws and just kind of wanted to marry into other families and become Christian. But that is of interest here. So again, if we can get up that family chart, we're speaking now about Joseph Bravo Harris, and he believes that this is the father of Joseph Alexander Harris. So right in the chart you're seeing, we don't have a picture for him, but we have a blank spot for him if this is correct.
I'm telling you now, if Kamala Harris don't come out and speak, it's going to get worse for her, because I'm telling you, by the end of this series, because like I said, ain't no telling where this is going to end, because like I said, all the way up to the election, Candace Owens is going to keep on going, because, I mean, from this fact, we pretty much all know that Kamala is not going to respond to any of this. Nobody from her campaign is going to respond to this. You got to realize, Candace Owens videos is all over YouTube, because I'm making sure I push them out, react to them, just so my people, even more people, can see the content. And even on X, people is seeing it and talking about it. So it's all over the internet, and I know Kamala sees this. So think about it. Even one of her family members reached out to Candace Owens and now talking to Candace Owens about this situation. So if her family members see it, you know for a fact Kamala Harris sees this. But she's just going to try to ignore it. It's what she's going to try to do. And they're just going to make that hole dig deeper and deeper and deeper, because Candace is not stopping at all.
If this is correct. Then above that, we have someone that would be technically Kamala's third great-grandfather, Ralph Harris, who married Julia Bravo. That's where that middle name Bravo comes from. And what he's been able to discern is that they were also born in 1832 in England. He married Julia Bravo. They had 2 children together.
Yep.
He then married Sarah Ann Winchester, and they had 2 children together. He also had 1 son with Louisa Mary Evans, and that's where he says he's gotten as far back, but for whatever reason, he is saying that this would, of course, be known to the Harris family, because Harris was a big name in St. Anne Parish. She would obviously know that her heritage dated back to this. She would obviously know that she had Jewish relatives, which again just keeps leading us to this question of why hide any of this? This is not something that the world would be upset about or angry about. So I just don't understand why we are hiding certain relatives, pretending not to know certain ancestral things. What is the explicit aim of that? And I can't come up with a logical answer. There's nothing that makes sense to me. I'm going way down in my head. I'm like, let me just go in straight conspiracy land. Why would you want to hide a relative? It can't be so simple that it's because you just want people to think that you're black. I mean, can it be? Can it really be that simple that you just want people to think that you're black because the Democrats are so reliant as they are upon the black vote? Like maybe. Yep. Like maybe, but that just seems... And
that's the way the Democrats is pushing it. That's why they keep pushing this issue. They even fighting back for it, talking about, why is you saying this to Kamala? She is black. Like they literally, like she ain't even talking. They talking for her. So could they want to run this narrative? Which, look, the Democrats want to do whatever it takes to win, whether it's getting Kamala to lie, which they is doing. I do not have to pop the video up for y'all to see. We didn't see the video of her saying she's Indian. And then all of a sudden, now she take Joe's spot, she's black. It's like, come on, we ain't falling for this crap. And Candace ain't falling for it either. So we can see straight through this and what they trying to do.
Really foolish, because eventually someone was going to look into this and see all of these holes. Maybe they were thinking it just wasn't going to happen before the election. And that is a reality, with the entire media on your side, not poking holes in your story, instead condemning people that question your blackness. You probably could get away with it at least until election time. Because think about it. This woman was just established, Kamala Harris, in an effective coup against Joe Biden. They were like, yeah, never mind. She's the Democrat nominee. That's it. She's a Democratic nominee. No questions asked. Nobody actually wanted her to be, but here she is. The media then fawns over her. That means that took place in August. We only have until November. All they had to do was have nobody look into this for 3 months. Maybe it is. Maybe it is that simple. It was just an election time thing, and it really is just about the black vote. Perhaps.
That's what it's about.
Again, this was super interesting. We're going to put this document that he put together also on our locals page so people can look into it and see whether or not they believe that that there is some merit to those claims. I do think that he did a very good job putting that together. All right, a brief break before we talk about some very interesting, so interesting. And every time I get one of these emails and just trying to now establish a contact, I keep prioritizing that. But I obviously am seeing all of your emails regarding her mother. And I did want to just show you this one comment because I think it's really interesting. We actually have received so many comments that are developing the same theme, that the marriage between Kamala's parents is just strange. And this is one comment that came in yesterday on YouTube that pretty much sums up all of the comments emails that we have been getting pertaining to this. This woman writes, Indian here from India with some Indian context.
Okay.
BTW, love your work, Candace. Kamala's mother belonged to a very high-class bureaucratic family. So marrying someone outside your religion, caste, race in that era was extremely unlikely, especially for someone like Kamala's mother. Not to mention marrying a black person would be absolutely impossible because racism has been prevalent in India as well. So I completely believe Kamala's dad not being black, rather being Irish, Indian, Hindu, since he looks like a lot of old Indian men that I see in real life here, especially the South Indians. The Communist Party also seems so interesting because in the 20th century, especially post-independence, communism was extremely popular in India, owing to the closeness to Soviet Union. And even today, some of the most influential and powerful political parties in India, especially South India, the region that Kamala's mom belongs to, are hardcore communist parties with hardcore communist ideologies even today. The head of the state of Kamala's mom is from has literally changed his family name to Stalin, LOL. Total personal opinion, but I absolutely believe Kamala's dad not being black at all, but Irish Hindu with maybe some Indian ancestry, because that's way more believable, especially when you know the family background and social class and status of Kamala's mom and the Indian society and mentality during the 20th century. P.S. As a non-American, I find it insane that this isn't mainstream news in your country. I follow global news, especially American news, very closely, and to find no one talking about this is almost a culture shock. Because had it been any other country, this would have been a huge media piece running across all news channels 24/7.
Yep.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It would have been everywhere in America had it been Donald Trump.
Oh, man. Oh, my boy. If it had been Donald Trump, oh, my God. And as much as they talk about Donald Trump, lie on this man every single day, they would be running 24/7 talking about Donald Trump if it was him. And that's the reason why a lot of black folks start calling out Kamala Harris, because she want to explain. She just want to say, I'm black. Tell us how you is black. She literally just went talked to two retired basketball players, and told them she's black and her sister is black. But then yet she's told another Indian woman that she's Indian. So that's the reason why I said, depending on who she's in front of is who she going to try to talk to that way. I'm telling you that Kamala is just as fake as I don't know what, and I can't see how a lot of people is still being fooled by her.
As we know, the media is a part of the establishment. The deep state wants Kamala Harris to win. They're doing everything to assist that win. And the question is why? And I think it's really important, therefore, to establish what her genealogy is. And that's why I am following every angle of this. But it is interesting to see so many people of Indian descent say that exact same thing, that they would not have just allowed her to marry a black man. And so I think that Judge Joe Brown yesterday, when he remarks that Donald Harris is of Hindu and Irish descent, majority white, well, that seems to be the thing that makes the most sense here. And again, still does not explain why it is that they are purporting that she is black, and still does not explain why we do not have more people speaking about it, because if nothing else, you should be outraged, positively outraged at the fact that she is pretending to be black. That is one of the wildest things that I've ever seen. It is so inappropriate, but it also, by the way, beyond it being inappropriate, it demonstrates that she's a sociopath. It's really interesting because people got really upset when J.D. Harris had said that women who don't have any children should not be in positions of power to make decisions in the country. And the media intentionally took that out of context. The next thing you know, we have Taylor Swift holding her cat and like, I'm with Kamala because I'm like a cat lady. But what he's actually trying to say is that when you have a family, he's not mocking people that are struggling with fertility or saying like, oh, if you literally cannot have a child.
So that's the thing. CNN, they know exactly what JD Vance was saying, but that's the thing. They gotta twist it. They just gotta add their own narrative in it to try to make it seem like JD Vance said something bad. So this is what CNN, that's why Donald Trump call them fake news all the time. This is what they do. CNN, CBS, ABC, they all do the same thing. They take Donald Trump words, they take J.D. Vance words, and they twist them and add their own narrative and say, oh, look what Donald Trump said last night. Oh, look what J.D. Vance said. They do it all the time, but they the same people on their network saying Donald Trump need to be eliminated. They the same person up on their network saying they wish Donald Trump would have got killed. This is what they saying on their networks. It's like, come on, man.
Desperately want one. He's not throwing you in the same bucket. He's referring more to women who choose not to have children, who instead focus their entire life on their careers. It does tell you something about that person. It just does. That is just the reality of things. People who are just like, I never want kids and all I care about is my career. What does that signal to you about a woman? Like she's overridden her own biology and will do anything for power, right? She'll do anything for power. And you do not want to elect sociopaths into power. It seems to be the only thing that we do, right? Because they feel nothing when they're inflicting pain upon you. They feel nothing when they're lying to you. This is why even the genealogy pertaining to Brigitte Macron is so important, because over and over again, we are seeing that people who don't care at all about your family, don't care at all about your family life, have these tendencies to want to be put into places of power to determine family policy. And so this is why, among many other reasons, getting to the bottom of Kamala's true genealogy is a priority. And we're getting close. We are getting incredibly close. If I am able to later tonight establish this connection with her family member, I just can't imagine that this doesn't just blow everything up, like instantly just explode this entire narrative. Because as I said, my instinct is that they too are kind of not down with the things that Kamala is saying and the things that Kamala is doing. And they have some question marks about what it is that she's doing. And they got a lot of family members, tons of them that aren't even being mentioned. Maybe they're not being mentioned because they know that these people don't agree with them and don't agree with their political manipulation at this stage. Anyways, guys, we're going to read more of your comments. Before we do, I want to remind...
All right, well, there we go right there. Kamala's family reaches out. Salute to Candace Owens. I told y'all before, I'm going to keep these videos coming. As more Candace Owens drop them, we're going to bring them. I seen a lot of y'all in the comment section kept saying, Adogg, please keep doing the Candace Owens videos. We enjoying them. It's very interesting and stuff like that. So I'm going to keep them coming. So you don't have to worry about that right there. But it get to the point where now we know Kamala Harris is lying. Now you got her like family members reaching out because they starting to see the videos. Because like I said before, these videos Candace is doing numbers. So you have no other choice but to see them. Because, I mean, she getting them about 1 million views every single video. So you can't say you ain't seen it because it's on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's on, I think Candace is on Rumble too. It's on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. It's everywhere. So you can't say you don't see them. So like I said, we're going to keep breaking these down. We know for a fact Kamala Harris is a liar. We ain't even got to keep saying that. We know for a fact that she want to keep using this black card to try to use that to try to see if she can win, which is just disgusting to me. So like I said, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you got your notifications turned on so you don't miss out on the series. And I'll catch y'all in the next one.